Hello and welcome. This is View from the Top. I'm Modele Sharafa Yusuf and I thank you for joining us. Nigeria's reserves are often described as a drop of oil in an ocean of natural gas, with total proven natural gas reserves ranging between 182 trillion standard cubic feet and 187 trillion standard cubic feet. The potential for monetizing these reserves is significant. Given that all of this is associated gas, that is gas found alongside oil, it is estimated that total reserves could reach 600 trillion standard cubic feet if operators started exploring gas independently, and Nigeria's gas reserves could actually become the world's fourth largest. Compared to oil, Nigeria's high reserves to production ratio reflects the country's limited gas production. And despite the start of gas monetization projects, Nigeria continues to waste this resource because it is estimated that Nigeria lost over $100 billion between 1970 and now as a result of gas flaring. Nigeria LNG was incorporated in 1989 to produce liquefied natural gas and natural gas liquids for export. It is jointly owned by the NNPC, Shell, Total, and ENI International. NLNG operates 6 processing units, producing 22 million metric tons of LNG per year. This amounts to roughly 7% of the world's LNG consumption. It also produces up to 5 million tons of LPG or cooking gas and has generated more than $85 billion from exports since its inception. NLNG also pays more company income tax than any other African commercial entity, with about 1.6 billion naira paid, $1.6 billion paid this year. So this clearly makes NLNG one of Nigeria's main sources of income. Mr. Babs Omotowa is the Managing Director, CEO of Nigeria LNG and the Vice President of Bonny Gas Transport. He joins us on View from the Top today, and I want to thank him very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Omotowa, for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Here's a brief biography of Mr. Omotowa before we get down to our conversation. Obviously, Nigeria needs all the money that it can get right now. So let me start by asking you. The NLNG project has expanded to 6 trains, and the 7th train will add an annual 7 million tons to current capacity. This is still awaiting final investment decision. What's delaying this decision?
Obviously, the 7th train has been in conception for a while now. I think it was in 2008 that the company was actually close to taking an FID decision at that time. However, a lot of conversations then around domestic gas, need for clarity around gas availability, and the opportunities to also get the upstream gas suppliers were reasons for those delays at that time. Work has continued ever since then. We are making progress currently with all stakeholders fully committed. The shareholders are all fully committed. Stakeholders in terms of upstream gas suppliers fully committed, and we're working through the processes of assuring gas supply, tendering for the contracts to build the plant, and all the work is ongoing. So we're optimistic that in a few years' time.
A few years being like 5 or 6 years?
I think it will still take about 3 years at the very least, because of course in the upstream, who are the gas suppliers to us, they need to go through processes of approving their contracts, constructing their gas fields, funding all of that activities, and their timelines also take quite some time.
As the delay in reaching the final investment decision for Omotowa LNG, Brass LNG, and your Train 7 projects continues, Nigeria risks losing a big chunk of the high-demand Asian LNG market, especially because competition continues to grow. How do you plan to mitigate this?
I think what is rather unfortunate with those three projects you talked about is that they had the potential to have created close to 50,000 jobs during their construction phase, and they would have generated a significant amount of revenues because they would have brought in even more volumes than NLNG currently produces. So when you talk about the 1.6 billion we paid and all of that, those three projects will have done a lot more. So indeed, I think the delays on all those projects have not been of an advantage to the country. And we do need indeed to move very fast so that other countries, Mozambique, Tanzania, the US, in terms of their shale gas, don't take the prime markets before us. And that's what we are working towards achieving.
There has been a slowdown in US imports because of growing shale gas production. What is NLNG doing to further diversify its customer base?
We've done a lot in that direction. I mean, just to give you an idea, initially when we started exporting gas, the US accounted for 35% of our sales. We were selling 35% into the US. By today, zero, because the US has discovered shale gas and they're exporting. We were one of the first to go into Japan after the Fukushima accident with the LNG, and today Japan is one of our large customers, which didn't exist in the past. We've also gone into other countries in Asia, Southwest Asian countries, and we're now even starting to talk in places like China and India to explore the markets. But we're already also doing a lot in South America, so Brazil, Argentina, these are new markets that we are really going into. So we've done a lot in terms of diversions and diversification. I think the good part about LNG is that the forecast is for growth. Expectation is that by 2030, the demand globally will be twice what it is today, because other countries are looking for LNG, new sources are coming up. So marine transportation, land transportation, we're seeing huge demands growing in that direction. So the opportunities are still out there, and we intend to take advantage of those.
You were once director of the West African Gas Pipeline. The project was conceived with the objective of delivering Nigerian gas to the West African sub-region. It has begun operations, but not, fully in use. What would it mean for your business?
It has actually begun operation, although it's not been able to reach its full potential. I think it's still doing about 40–50% of its potential. Look, Modele, the big thing about Nigeria is that Nigeria has a huge gas reserves. We are one of the top 10 today, 180 TCF of gas proven, an opportunity for 600 TCF of gas. When you think of NLNG, we only use, over the 25 years of the project, we will only use less than 30 TCF of gas. So there's still even 150 TCF of gas that is still available for the likes of the West African gas project, domestic projects, petrochemical projects. Nigeria is just so blessed. So there's no competition really. We really don't have an issue of one or the other. Our opportunity in Nigeria is to develop all for the benefit of the country.
Give us an update, if you can, on the ambitious Trans-Saharan gas pipeline project, which was proposed to take gas through North Africa to the Mediterranean Sea. When implemented, what would the impact of that be on your business? Unfortunately,
I'm not involved in that project, so I'm unable to give you any update on it. It's a federal government-driven project. I think it's a very difficult project because you are trying to build a pipeline through several countries from Nigeria to Europe. I think that's a hugely expensive project. When you have alternatives like LNG, which you can transport by ship, usually above distances of 1,500 kilometers, those are not projects you should do by pipeline. Having said that, again, I will go back to the fact that Nigeria has such a huge gas base that there is really no competition. We should be talking of and, not or. I think what you're saying is that this project is not quite feasible. I think your answer suggests to me that this project is not quite feasible. It's a decision for those who are the shareholders and investor in it. I will say that from all the studies globally, any distances above 1,500 kilometers, you're better transporting gas by LNG rather than by pipeline. We must take a break now. We ask that you please join us again after this short break.